Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Next Goal Wins podcast, episode 35. 35 is a good number, George. 35 is a good number.
Why?
I can no longer do a fraction of how close we are to 100 episodes.
Pretty sure still you could.
I mean, I could, but it's going to take a lot of brain power that I don't want to use right now. But 35 is a solid number. And I was sharing the podcast with Evan today because he was looking it up. And he's like, wow, 34 episodes. I was like, yeah. He's like, that's pretty impressive. So
Only 15 away from 50. Then we're halfway there.
only 15 away from 50. So if we crank out 15 episodes in the next 15 days.
Javi might die.
We're only
can get
one
there faster,
episode
is all I'm
away
saying.
from 36.
We're
We
only
should just
one
do
episode away from 36.
We should do another one right after this one.
Ooh, we could.
If you round up, you could be at 40. You could say we're closer to 40 episodes than we are to 30 episodes. And that means we're only 40% of the way to 100.
You know what that means.
And
Once
then if
you
you
get to
round that
100,
one up to 50, we're basically halfway to 100 episodes on this podcast, by the way.
we're basically at like 1,000 if you do all the
All
math.
right, listen,
correctly.
people are going to...
Yeah.
If people who have never heard this podcast are going to listen to this introduction thing, we're like, what the hell is this guy on about? And they're not going to stick around because...
It gets better. Trust me.
Does it, Joe? Does it ever actually get better?
I like to think it will.
All right, I'm joined by my co-hosts, the stats man, Joe. Joe, give us an update on the stats. How we doing?
Georgie's going to like to hear this. The stats are going crazy, especially when Georgie's face shows up in a thumbnail. It's crazy. It's crazy to think.
It is true.
But
Georgie-
it's either the man bun, the fresh lineup. I don't know what it is, but
Fresh lineup.
the stats are going well. Hey, I'm trying to make you feel better,
I appreciate
right?
that.
I know you're worried. Salah's going to be out for a little bit. Arsenal's coming, so I'm trying to
Yeah, trying
To
to,
give
I'm trying to
credit to
keep
Georgie.
you around.
He does have our most watched YouTube short clip right now on Darwin Nuñez. It was a Darwin Nuñez
short
rant.
clip.
It was like 5 minutes.
Georgie the golden goose.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go ahead and follow us on the YouTube at...
You're not going to introduce Georgie?
Oh, sorry.
I'm just doing again. I'm just
he
here.
always, every time I introduce him, he's like, I'm just here. I'm just here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
sounds right.
I don't need. I'm just me.
Anyway, you can follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/@thenGW podcast. That's where you can get the full length video versions plus all of the clips. And then we also have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all are at the NGW podcast. So make sure you go ahead and follow us on those. And then every once in a while for big games, we go live on TikTok for the games, for the Premier League matches or Champions League. So every once in a while when there's a big game, you'll find us on there. So go ahead and follow us.
We're only 2 subs away from 50 on YouTube.
Yeah. So closer we can get to making money on YouTube, the closer we can get to firing George and hiring someone with actual intelligence to be on this podcast. All right. Anyway, let's get into the recap. So for today, Premier League is back. By the time we're recording this episode, we're only a few games in. We're going to talk a little bit about the Serie A and what happened in the Milan game versus Udinese. Bundesliga, Leverkusen. Transfer window, because there's still not much going on, but rumors are starting to swirl and some interesting potential transfers. And then we have the wild card segment, which I wrote it down, but I forgot to write the actual people that I'm going to tell you. So we might have to wing that one. And then we do have 2 fun facts today. They kind of go together, which is why I put them in there. But we'll see. We'll see if you guys can get those.
I brought a fun fact as well.
Oh, and Joe brought a fun fact.
Put you in the hot seat.
But I know your fun fact, just from. Yeah, I know your fun fact.
Joe started talking about this fun fact before he realized it was a good idea to bring it on the podcast, and he gave us half the numbers of the...
As soon as you said the numbers, I already knew what you're talking about and who you're talking about.
right.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, you better not get it wrong then.
All right, so as you can see, my boy Joe wearing that very fresh
Oh, it's on this side.
Arsenal... Is that a quarter-zip?
Yes.
Joe's an Adidas fan.
Got this
He's
as
not an Arsenal fan.
Christmas present, I think, last year. Not 2023, but 2022 from my coworker. So thank you.
So Arsenal
Yes.
smashing Crystal Palace 5-0 in their first game back. How does it feel, Joe?
Watching that game felt amazing.
Felt
Felt great. It just, I was hoping Arteta was going to take the boys on vacation, get their minds right, work on finishing, come back high flying. And the game, literally, when you look at it start to finish, it had everything you wanted. Scored from set pieces. Outside of Jesus and Saka scoring, That would have been great. But Trossard scored. He started. Martinelli comes on as a sub. He scores twice. We kept a clean sheet as well at home. Scored 5 goals. Made up some goal differential. Made up some points. It was everything you could have hoped for with the group coming back. Now it's time to move on. It was one game. We have some more work to do.
Good way to come back in. It does remind me of the start of last season because we were flying.
And now can we fly from now till the end? And if so, whew,
Are you guys actually giving credit to Arteta for this one?
yes.
Joe is.
Yeah.
Who are you giving credit to?
I don't know, probably just a break. Just having a little bit of a break to reset because we're going like this. And every time you're not playing well, a break is probably a good thing. So the fact that, like he said, that he took him where, to Saudi Arabia?
No.
Dubai, right?
Dubai, I think,
He took him to Dubai, and I saw them posting on their social media. It looked really nice out there, by the way.
Yeah.
Fields were perfect, sunny weather. So maybe they just came back refreshed, or maybe it was just the fact that it was Crystal Palace and your boy Roy Hodgson, who's about to be sacked in the morning.
I give all the credit to Salt Bay.
Is that all it took? Is a visit to Arteta?
That's all it took.
Listen, I watched the video.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. If you guys haven't seen it, it's this video of Arteta going to Salt Bay's restaurant.
What's it look like, Georgie? Show us how he eats it.
No, I'm all right. I'm good.
But it wasn't that bad. It didn't look that bad.
It's just funny. It's just funny that. So I give Salt Bay all the credit.
You kind of have to do. When you go to the Salt Bay's restaurant, I mean,
you gotta want it.
listen. Yeah.
No, but it is obviously going away to Dubai, a break from reality, I guess you can say, away from terrible weather in England and just being with the team. Nothing else matters. Getting away from obviously the season, especially when it wasn't going as good as it was in the beginning. I think it makes a huge difference. So it's a perfect way to start the second half of the season, and it's just a matter of can you keep the momentum going until obviously. Well, actually, there's no game. Right? You guys don't have a. Is it over now? Like
The season?
No.
Is the season over?
I don't because
No, because next week I think is
something's weird again, right?
FA Cup. Yeah, next weekend is some more FA Cup.
I'll pull it up. So we play Nottingham Forest on the 30th of January.
Yeah.
And then we play Liverpool on the 4th, West Ham on the 11th, and then Burnley on the 17th. And then we go back to Champions League at the end of February.
Oh, so it's like full on now.
Yeah, so
It's
we're
back.
good. So
Yeah, it's just
back
we don't
in.
play on the weekend. We play on Tuesday.
Okay, because I think Liverpool still have something off like that where
Well, you guys play in the FA Cup
That's
on
what-
Sunday against the Canaries, the Norwich Canaries.
and we play tomorrow against Bournemouth. But
Do you think Roy Hodgson should be sacked
yes,
immediately
Yes.
with immediate effect? Dang, Georgie, you're never the hard guy. Georgie's never the guy
I
who's
know,
like,
he's-
yes,
you're
sack
right.
him right now.
He's
no,
It's
What-
hard.
who's
It's tough. He always
replacing
says this. It's tough, you know.
no,
It's not tough. It's an easy decision. Is what you're
no,
saying.
it's an easy decision for me just because they didn't look good at all today.
Yeah.
Especially after you have like a break. It's just a terrible way to start. And the reason why I do say it's time for him to go is because it's the second time around at Crystal Palace, and I think he did really well in keeping them up when he was hired the second time. They were in a terrible spot, and he steadied the ship. But I think Crystal Palace, being a London team, can actually be, I don't want to say one of the better teams, but they should be they should be anywhere from 8th to 12th place.
The top half team for sure.
Yeah, like they should be at least in like 10th spot. Because right now, it just seems like, well, I don't know. They've also had injuries as well as they're just coming back.
Yeah, but that's expected with every
Yeah.
team. You can't. You're getting very close to the relegation battle right now. So that's why I agree with you. They probably need to do it now before it gets to the point where they're in the relegation battle, and now they're just hiring someone to try and keep them up. Right now, they just need someone to get them a few results so that they can stay outside of the
The
relegation
honeymoon
battle.
stage.
And then, yeah, exactly.
And then you find after that you also, like, for example, like you asked who could potentially take over Crystal Palace. You need to have somebody lined up with a new way of thinking to where you can use those creative players that Palace, because Palace do have creative players.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of using them the right way and putting the team into like a free flowing football compared to. To be fair, Roy Hodgson today started out with, I think, a back three. So that kind of, I think that surprised me at least, because as somebody, as an older coach, like, you're not stuck in your ways. You're trying to evolve.
And trying to keep.
Which I give him
up with
credit
it.
for, but obviously the 5-0 doesn't look good either.
No.
And they were terrible at set pieces where.
Yeah. Well, that was
just,
that was the big. I mean, that was really the big killer. Was the 2 set piece goals put Arsenal in a spot where it was then very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had to chase the game, made some mistakes. To your point, though, they have creative players, and Eze, Olise, Edouard. But again, Edouard and Olise hurt.
Yep. So
where they don't have the depth to.
Yeah. By the way, those guys are getting sold somewhere. Eze and Olise are going.
They're great. Both of them are great.
70 to 80 million each.
Yeah.
All right. Did you guys see who was in the stands though?
Yes.
Joe did.
I did.
Who was it, Joe?
Graham Potter. Is he?
So you think?
Did he walk inside and sign the contract right after?
That's what I'm going to say. Do you think he was there already having talked with the board about a potential move for him to go to Crystal Palace? Or do you think he was just there?
I don't know.
I don't know. The commentators were speculating enough to make it seem like he was there for Crystal Palace. I don't know how many games he normally goes to or doesn't go to.
That'd be a perfect move for him.
Graham Potter would be good.
Crystal Palace, a new way to evolve a team that it's just, if you're a London team, that already puts you above a lot of teams. Just because of the lifestyle, you can stay in London. Players are willing to come, even if you're not the biggest team in London.
Top team, yeah.
If just the lifestyle that London gives compared to going up north to like
the coast and going to Brighton or something.
Yeah, like something different. So just the lifestyle alone can bring you in players from that can like keep you up. And obviously, if you have Graham Potter, who's his way, what he did at Brighton, if he can replicate that, and it will take them some time. But if he can replicate that at Crystal Palace, then I think they're in a good
That's what I'm curious to find out. So if they do appoint Graham Potter, for me, I'd be interested to see if he's the real deal. Because Brighton, you could say that was. I mean, I know he did it at what team was he at before Brighton? He was a team that I forgot what team it was, but he like brought him up a couple divisions or something like that, and then and ended up getting Brighton. But he started as like a volunteer at a university, or he was like a university coach, and then he moved his way up, did some good things with some teams, and then managed Brighton. Went to Chelsea, absolutely failed at Chelsea. Nobody can question that. So I'm curious to see if he goes to Crystal Palace, does it end up similar to Brighton, or does it end up similar to Chelsea? Can you imagine if he goes to Crystal Palace? So they sack Roy Hodgson. He goes to Crystal Palace, and then it makes it even worse, and then they go relegation battle, and then they get relegated. Does he even ever get a job after that, like a proper job after that?
I'd say no. That would be sad to see.
Did you look it up, Georgie?
Swansea.
Is it Swansea?
Well, he was a team in like Ulster Sons, whatever, in Sweden.
Yeah, it was like Sweden that he brought him up from like the.
So you're saying that's the team that he brought up?
That's the team that he did really well.
Because then he was at Swansea and then Brighton and then Chelsea, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like Brighton was good, but I just don't know if I never really saw enough to think, okay, he's legit. Because then obviously when he went to Chelsea, it was like straight downhill, nothing good at Chelsea. Didn't even have good moments, really.
The problem with going to with the style that he has, it's going to take a while for that to evolve within the team. So the problem you have is you don't have that time. Yeah. If you're brought in, they want results right away. And I don't know if, like, his style is more free-flowing football. And if you're Crystal Palace, I don't know if you, one, can fully do that. And two, are you good defensively with that style to be able to stay up in the Premier League? Because if you go into a team and you start playing free-flowing football and you think you can start possession and all that, and it doesn't work out at all, and the team is already not that good, you're not going to get any results right away. So it's...
I mean, they're still 5 points clear, though. So part of me thinks, too, is like, are they really going to get drug into the relegation battle that quickly? Because even if you keep dropping points, you have to assume that Luton has to keep winning.
But all it takes is one win from.
I guess, yeah, and then they're 2 points out, but
do you think he does? So if they appoint Graham Potter, do you think he does enough to keep them up?
Oh yeah,
And then he has a little bit more time to implement his methods.
I think they stay where I think if Roy Hodgson stays on, they get drawn back into the relegation battle, which once you get down there, I think they have the quality to stay up, even if they get drawn into it, just because I think they're a lot better than Sheffield.
Yeah, they just don't want to take the risk, especially with the way that things are going right now.
Or maybe you just let Roy Hodgson just keep you up, and obviously you stay up, and then hire somebody in the summer.
part of me thinks that might be their fear is if they do make a change and it causes a bobble. Like now you don't have much room for losing 2 or 3 straight games in a row. That they could just say, hey, we're going to roll with Roy Hodgson. We understand there's injuries. We understand this, that, and the other. We saw Graham Potter and what he was not able to do quickly at Chelsea.
Yeah, with the players he had.
With those players. So our players aren't as great. Like if we are going to get him, let's get him in the summer, give him time to develop what he wants to do. Also, if I'm Graham Potter, I don't know if I want to go to Crystal Palace if Olise and Eze are leaving.
Yeah.
Because you're not walking into an easy job there either. So
Yeah.
How do you feel if you're Roy Hodgson and you see that Graham Potter was at the stadium?
It's not a good feeling. Obviously, there's gonna be. I mean, just now when I looked up Graham Potter, it said NBC, Sky Sports, all saying he's at the stadium, concerns over taking over Roy Hodgson and all that. I mean, it's not a good feeling. Obviously, you know your team is not performing. You just got beat 5-0, and you find out that Graham Potter's at the stadium.
yeah.
But I just wonder. So last year when Roy Hodgson took over, I wonder if that was, okay, I'm going to come back just to help Crystal Palace because I've been here before and kind of I've made this my home, and I'm just going to help out, and I'm not looking to stay long term. And then he kind of, because he kept them up, they said, why not stay another year? So I wonder if he himself doesn't want to coach anymore. And he's just at the point where, like, I just came back to try and save.
Yeah.
And he's even, like, knows Graham Potter's there and is like, yeah, I'm fine with Graham Potter taking over at the end of the year or whenever. Like, find somebody that you want to take this over. I never thought about that.
He's just trying to get to the end of the year, though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get to the end of the season. All right, well, let's move on. Brentford versus Nottingham Forest. The boy Ivan Toney is back.
He is back.
Scores a free kick. Walk us through that whole situation, Georgie.
Well, I mean,
For the people who didn't watch the game.
it's crazy because as soon as there was a free kick on top of the box. He took the ball, and the commentator's like, this is literally like a movie. It's just one of those things where it's just meant to be. But obviously, he scores the goal. But on the replays, because in the beginning, I didn't see it. When he
Typically, the cameras aren't.
Yeah, the cameras aren't just focused on him. However, when the replays were shown, so he puts the ball down, the referee puts the foam around the ball. Then the referee walks away to make sure the wall is 10 yards away. And then as he's walking away to set up the wall, Ivan Toney moves the ball a little bit to the right. And then Matt Turner comes back to set up the wall again. The referee's talking somewhere to somebody else, not paying attention. Matt Turner walks away. Then Ivan Toney grabs the ball again, moves it a little bit more to the right, grabs a little bit of the foam, puts it around the ball, so then it looks like it didn't move in the first place. So if the referee looks,
The foam is still there.
the foam is still there. And then he just pretty much places it.
Like passes it into
That's
the goal,
the thing,
right?
right? Is that because of what he did is the reason why he scored that
Yep.
free kick, because he's able to easily bend it around the wall.
Easily. And the commentators were like, the wall wasn't set up right, like in the beginning, because they didn't see it either.
Right.
They're like, this was too easy. Something's wrong with the wall. And all the players in the wall are looking at like,
What the heck?
they were looking at the bench like, how is this? Because nobody complained. I don't think they
That's
saw.
the thing. To me, how did the players not see it? Because
Yeah.
normally if you're standing in a wall, you're looking.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's where you're looking.
I don't think they saw anything in terms
Yeah,
of
but-
like moving the ball. I think they were just complaining to like about Matt Turner looking at the bench like we did
Right,
our
but-
job.
No, but here's the thing, though. So when you set up a wall, this is how they do it. Let's say, I don't know how many people were in that wall, 4 or 5, right?
And one laying down.
And one laying down. So as a goalkeeper, what you do is you grab one of those players, typically the first or the second, typically the second player in the wall. He faces the goalkeeper.
Yep.
So he's not even looking at the ball. He faces the goalkeeper while he's holding arms with his teammates, and the goalkeeper tells him left to right. The other 3 or 4 that are in the wall are looking at the ball. They're not looking at the goalkeeper. So while they're getting set, they're looking directly at the ball. I mean, they might be looking around. But if a guy who's taking the free kick is directly in front of you and he picks up the ball, not once, but twice, and then moves the foam, somebody had to have seen it.
I mean, unless they were complaining about that, but like I would be going crazy.
That's what I'm saying. But
Yeah,
I would
didn't
be
seem like
complaining
anyone
about
was-
it. I would be complaining about it before the free
Oh,
kick is
yeah.
taken. So I would even get out of the wall and go to the referee and say, hey, he keeps moving the ball. He just moved the foam.
Yep.
But they didn't, and then they score.
Yeah.
So, first of all, funny thing is that this guy literally just came back from being banned
For gambling.
for essentially,
on game.
yeah, not
Cheating.
cheating, but
Yeah.
but
Playing the
gambling.
system.
Yeah.
And now, first game back, the man cannot get away. All right. But my next question was, how does this not go to a VAR check? Because VAR rules state that if it's an incident regarding a goal, it can be checked. Clearly, this is, if the referee saw this, the referee would have told him to move the ball back
Yeah.
or given more time for the wall to set up or whatever.
So it's a clear error.
The only, I guess now that you say it, though, they say like in the build-up to a goal, right? Because technically what he did was prior to play starting.
No, but it's the
So like, because if there was let's say there's a corner kick, right? And before the corner kick happens, there's a tussle in the box. The ref stops it, looks at the tussle, tells the players to stop it, and then the corner kick resumes.
no, but it's,
Like, because like if I'm a defending player and you know what I mean, and if I foul you before the ball comes in play, they don't just give a penalty.
right. But let me tell you a better situation than that, or a better comparison. Imagine the guy who's taking the corner kick moves the ball outside of the little circle, and let's say the linesman doesn't catch it right away, but then they take the free kick, and then they realize in the VAR that the ball was outside of the circle. Would they go to VAR for that?
But
Well-
this makes me think no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But
'Cause
every
once
time
you-
I see that, I always think to myself, why are you being so stupid? Why are you trying to cheat this? Because it can. Well, I,
just
don't
wonder
know
if
if
they
you
might,
can.
I mean, they might have just missed it, to be honest.
well, first of all, I don't even know if they're allowed to look at that. It should be.
But they're looking at the live feed.
I don't think they can look at that because it's not the build up to the play is once he actually kicks the ball. Because like everything else technically is the dead play. Because it's like, you know what I mean? Because if you score on a corner when it wasn't a corner, they don't go back and take that away because
I
it
see
was
what
the
you're
play.
saying.
Like because it's in essence like a stoppage of play.
Yeah, is the next
and then a
stoppage.
new restarted.
It's yeah.
Well, either way, one, if it's or like if you are supposed to review it and you can look at it, VAR messed up.
Yeah.
And if you
Correct.
can't, they need to change the rules where you can.
Right.
Right.
Because both situations that you mentioned on the corner, if they take it out the little area, or a free kick or a penalty, for example. I mean, penalty is rarely going to happen where they take it out the spot because the referee is literally just looking at that. But if it does happen, that should be reviewable. So the rules need to change.
Agreed.
If that's not part
Yeah.
of the rules, that needs to change.
I
Because
feel
This
like
is why we needed Ivan Toney this entire time. He's noticing flaws in the game so we can get the rules
he's
right.
been thinking about this moment for 8
That's
months.
the thing. This game goes on for so long, and you think they got everything covered. There's a lot of gray area. There's so much gray area in this game. You think they have everything covered, and then a situation like this happens that makes you think, what is the rule? Is it can they even review it? Can they not review it? But you know they're gonna put that in the rule book that's going to be worded clearly in there that if a player moves the ball after the wall is set or whatever, that can be looked at as a VAR.
It should be. I mean,
Yeah.
it should be looked at as an error.
I
because
would be upset at the players at the wall. I'd be like, can you
Yeah.
guys seriously not see it, or somebody? Dude, the whole
It is
everything
wild that
stopped.
like no one made it a big deal.
Unless, I mean, now I'm thinking about it. I have no idea if anybody even said anything. But maybe they were going crazy. But no, there's no way they went crazy.
So in the next few weeks, we'll see if they come out with something, because obviously that can't keep happening.
You guys know what Ivan Toney's last goal was before this one? Who it was against?
The same team.
Nottingham Forest on a free kick.
Wow. Did he move the ball again?
Some things are just meant to be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what was the final score?
3-2.
3-2.
Brentford.
Yeah,
Crazy, huh?
he's back.
He did have an amazing game, to be honest. He played really, really well.
probably should if you've been out for 8
He's
months.
very
and
well
you've been-
motivated and well
The
rested.
team has supported you throughout this whole period, and your first game back, you're
He
gonna be
did.
excited
He
to
did
go.
do this,
Oh, he didn't do that.
Yeah, they-
but I don't know if that means I'm the man or I'm staying here. I don't know. You can decide.
Moving on. Something not directly related to results of games, but your boy Kyle Walker, Georgie.
Yeah, this is. Did
you-
Javi's excited about this.
I just thought it was funny. Somebody brought it up to me, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I thought this was like before. This was happened before. I looked, and then he was like all over the news. So Kyle Walker has apparently been cheating on his wife with another lady, and has 2 kids with her. Not just one kid. I mean, not just cheating, but then he got pregnant, and then he got pregnant again apparently. So the funny thing about it was that like the headlines are all his quote saying that that relationship meant nothing to him. He was like, it meant nothing. I mean, I might have 2 kids with her, but it meant nothing.
That's
Do the kids
insane,
mean
man.
nothing to him?
Dang.
That's insane. I mean, I didn't look at the story at all, but I mean, I just saw that he has 2 kids with the lady or whatever. But how can you say that? That's insane.
They did. It says apparently that they did split up, so he's not with his current wife right now, or
Okay.
his ex-wife.
Wait, I'm confused. Which relationship did he say meant nothing?
No, not his
side.
wife. What a terrible human being he would. I mean, come on, that's pretty
it's
bad
already
already.
bad, yeah.
It's already bad. But like, imagine if he said that.
No, that's what I thought you guys
His
were saying.
marriage meant
My
nothing.
brain was like
No,
trying to
no.
compute. I'm
his
like, what?
side lady that
His
he
side
has,
chick.
Okay, that makes more
that
sense.
he has 2 kids with,
Gotcha.
but still doesn't make sense because you keep
Now we have 2 human beings.
that you don't care about at all. It means nothing.
And so, I was following a little bit about the story, and then the next article, because obviously people did more digging or whatever, was that the side chick, Lauren Goodman, tried to befriend his wife, Kyle Walker's wife, just telling her like all footballers are the same, like
God,
this is just what happens. This is just kind of normal. And this was a year before she got pregnant with his baby.
The first one or the second one?
It must have been the
That's
second one. I don't know. I mean, it's getting confusing.
I
It's
was-
getting confusing at this
Man.
You
point.
need to draw a chart here.
But
Well,
yeah. So Kyle Walker's in.
not all footballers are the same. So
And Georgie's saying that only because he's retired at this
Yeah.
point. But yeah, so Kyle Walker's in some hot water right now.
that's
Dang.
crazy.
What do you think happens?
That's your player of the year. That's your.
He was on
best
my
red
team.
back
He was on my
Team of the year.
ever. Not actually not.
I mean,
Ever.
player wise,
He was. I think he was on mine too. Player wise,
he's
he's
on
amazing.
everyone's. What do you think though? What do you think happens to like Pep and Manchester City with these kinds of situations? Like, do you think Pep has a conversation with him? Has to have a conversation, or do you think he just like he's like that's your personal life? I don't even care. Or do you think it's like it's one of those things? It's affecting the club because of the negative publicity. We have to have a conversation. There's a proper protocol that we have to follow, or something like that. Because I mean, he didn't break any rules. It's just an ethics thing. And he's just a bad human being.
He's just gonna be like, Pep, it didn't mean anything. I swear. It's not a big deal. It didn't mean anything to me. No, I mean the thing is, I think Pep is only gonna have a word with him only if it starts affecting his football.
Yeah.
Until then, it's like I don't think Pep is really gonna say anything. Maybe somebody high above from the club might, in terms of like let's walk us through what happened.
Probably
in the
just for the
situation.
media preparation, right? For like
Yeah.
interviews and stuff.
But I don't think Pep is gonna be like, so do you want to like tell me what exactly happened, or like
He's gonna sit down on a podcast with him and have a conversation.
just like a one-on-one?
But it is crazy because they do get. So that's what I was thinking is like obviously anytime he's in front of any cameras or media, they're gonna ask him about it. So he's got to be prepared. All of these teams have media personnel
Yeah.
who do media training with the players. I was watching a day in the life of like a Barcelona academy player, and they have because they're obviously in the academy, so they sleep there and everything. And in the morning they go to school and then they go to training or whatever. And part of their day was media training for 45 minutes or whatever because they
Makes
have to
sense.
be.
Yeah.
It makes sense because
Part of your career, man.
exactly you say one stupid thing that could put the club in hot water or whatever. So I'm sure the media team had to reach out to him and say, "This is how we're going to try and handle the situation so that there's no negative impact on Manchester City."
Was that before or after he said it didn't mean anything?
Is that before or after the first or second child?
Yeah, that's
Skip
crazy.
that class. I could see Pep saying something to him though, because I was thinking about this the other day. Kyle Walker's one of the players that's been there for a very long time under Pep.
He's a captain.
He's one of the people who doesn't, you know what I mean? And Pep is clearly rotating other players through buying, selling, and there's a few like staples for him. and Kyle Walker's one of them. I think mostly because there's not many direct replacements in the world for his pace. Like outside of Alphonso Davies, I can't think of someone who comes anywhere close to him from a defending standpoint in terms of pace. And I would assume they have a decent relationship since they've worked together for so long. I could see Pep saying something to him about that. Because if Kyle Walker is going to listen to anybody in the world about changing how he acts, who would it be?
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though. Pep, in the interviews when they've tried to get Pep to see his opinions on like players going out to nightclubs and things like that, they've asked him various times, like, what do you think about your players? There was 1 or 2 times before. What do you think about this player going to a nightclub like the weekend after the game or whatever, something like that? And Pep in those interviews, he's like, guys, it's fine. I tell the players, enjoy yourselves. There was no game, blah, blah, blah. Like, unless it's something that could get them in trouble. But they're just trying to see if he's one of those, like, oh, you should never go out or whatever. And he's like, no.
Or maybe that's what he tells. Because I've heard, like, players say that Manchester City is crazy in terms of what they allow you to do and not do with stuff. Like, I could see Pep saying that. But then on the flip side, going to Kyle Walker and say, what are you, like, no, what are you doing? But I don't know.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of difficult.
It's all speculation. We're not in the locker room.
You're essentially his boss. You're essentially his boss, right? Like the personal life, unless it's breaking a rule, breaking a law, breaking a team rule, it's kind of one of those things where you're like,
if you have a good relationship, like I lead people up my day job, and I'll have conversations like that with them about what are you.
Yeah,
it all depends on how close you are with them. Which
so another Manchester City staff member, Omar. His name was Omar, right?
I think so, yeah.
I keep forgetting his first name because I just wrote that. Yeah, so Omar Barada leaves Manchester City. He was the chief footballing officer, basically in charge of all of the operations. Apparently, 11 clubs that he was looking after across 5 different continents. He was in charge of.
Yeah, the whole Man City group, right?
The whole Man City group,
that's
yeah.
insane.
And
so that includes everything from New York's. Then
yep, he's been poached. He's been poached by Manchester United, the other Manchester club.
The revolution started.
I told you guys this in the last episode. Ineos and their owners, first thing they said was, we're going to turn around the footballing operations. So they paid billions of dollars. And I thought it was crazy at first because I was like, they paid billions of dollars to get like 25% of Manchester United. I was like, what the? But it makes sense because the 25% that they're getting is control of all footballing operations. So they're in charge of the manager, the players, the scouting department, the recruiting, all of that, the on the field stuff or on the pitch. And they are legitimate, the best, one of the best, if not the best, cycling organizations in the world. And cycling is I wouldn't say lucrative, but it's a legitimate sport in terms of like the money that's being paid out to these people and how intense that stuff is. But anyway, I told you guys this. I knew that they were going to do something right away with Manchester United. And what else would you do other than poach one of the main men in charge of Manchester City to become your new? So he is now the CEO of Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the new revolution starting at Manchester United. And, the guy's running away because Man City about to be relegated in a year, so it doesn't really matter.
So they're back. So that was the first thing that Georgie said, was that
he's running away before the ship goes down. Man.
So
he's smart.
Assume that Manchester City does get in trouble. You're telling me he can just continue to then move over and work?
Because,
like, that's
he's no longer
absolutely
part of-
insane to me. So you can be completely and totally a part
because
of...
the sanctions don't go against the people, they go against the club, and then the club fires the people as part of their fix of the problem.
Unless all the people leave before.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why he's essentially freeing himself from the situation. Because if Manchester City does get found guilty,
so
from a PR standpoint, they'll be like, okay, well, this guy needs to go, and this guy's going to step down or whatever, and he's safe.
And by that time, in 2 years, 3 years, whenever Man City do go to court, he can be rebuilding Man United, and there can be...
Well, that's what I'm saying. So the moral of the story is cheat, win when you cheat, get a better job somewhere different at a different company, and then you'll never have to pay the consequences.
Don't be there when they get caught.
Simple.
Plain and simple. Don't be there when they get caught.
I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, there's no way he gets in trouble later and be like, you can't do this, because that wouldn't make sense.
That's funny.
I feel like you should be... That's like if you... but if you like... Never mind.
But it's not just him, though. That's the thing. He's doing his job, but the higher-ups are the ones signing off. So technically, I mean, I think Man City as a club would... Like, for example, Man City gets fined, and they get relegated. he has nothing. Like, what's the
Yeah,
punishment for him? He's just
But if you're part of like an embezzlement ring or a money laundering ring and you get caught, it's not like they're like, then you go apply to like, I want to work at the stock market. All right, come on over. Fidelity and Place are.
I don't know if they're money laundering. Right?
I know, but I'm just like, it's that premise of that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that played a part in his willingness to leave Manchester City.
He's like, shit, we guilty as hell. Why?
He's like, I'm the one that was doing all this, so I know.
I did it. I know it all.
I know we're gonna be found guilty.
I'm staying in my house.
Now he's willing to cooperate.
And can you imagine the amount of money that they're going to give him to go to Manchester United?
Is that announced yet?
No, but I mean, come on, you're gonna.
That's what I was wondering if it was announced because I wanted to know how much it was.
The money's probably better.
Insane.
The money's probably better, or the same, let's say. But he's not in charge of 11 different clubs across 5 continents.
Yeah, and
so
they're
probably
faced with 115 charges.
But that's what I'm saying. So they're probably
90% of your week in court.
They're probably like, you're going to be solely focused on Manchester United here. You don't have to worry about 11 different clubs and the whole city group. You're worried about building Manchester United back.
And he doesn't have to move.
Exactly.
Yeah, in Manchester.
Just
maybe he moved to the house across the street.
Drives a different way out of his driveway.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably bought like 5 different houses so nobody can find him where he's at.
So that's the first move that Ineos has made, or Sir Ratcliffe has made as part of the takeover. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what they do next. But I am going to say it here. I'm going to say it first. I am not a Manchester United fan by any means.
You're just a fanboy.
I'm just a fanboy of Manchester United. I'm not a Manchester United fan, but I do believe that within 5 years, Manchester United is going to be once again one of the top 3 clubs in the Premier League. Because Ineos does not fuck around.
What episode will we be on by then?
We'll be in our 3rd podcast that we tried starting up that failed. So interesting. All right, moving away from the Premier League. Serie A, Udinese versus Milan. Georgie, walk us through the whole situation because you're watching the game live.
Yeah, I mean, just racism in Italy. Just I feel like we every year just talked about, and it's talked about multiple times a year. I think so. The first incident was in the 25th or so minute. Maignan was obviously he's in goal. AC Milan are attacking, and at one point, like on TV, we just saw him come to the halfway line and had a talk with the referee. And the commentators were confused. Maybe they thought somebody was thrown at first, and so he got hit. But then he went back in goal. There's a little conversation, and then the referee kind of, with his pretty much what he's saying, just showed that there's cameras, and then they're gonna find the people in the stands. So he went back in goal after like a few minute break, and then 10 or so minutes later, he was completely gone. He was just said, "I'm done." Walked off again. Told the referee, and everybody was. When I watched it, it seemed like teammates and coaching staff, everybody was on his side when he decided to step off. It seemed like 1 or 2. I don't know who they were. I assume from Udinese's staff or whoever, they weren't really about it in terms of no, stay in play. But he completely walked off. Even the referee blew the whistle, signaled the game suspended, which is exactly what should be done. And then there was a video of him walking into the tunnel towards the locker room, and then 1 or 2 of AC Milan players behind him as they're walking off. And then somebody again ran up to him and kind of stopped him, said something, and then he had his gloves off, and then he came back onto the field. So I assume what they said was, we found the people that did it, and we took care of it. Again, this whole assumption, we have no idea what exactly was said. But then he came out, and that was a 10 or 12-minute break of suspended game or so. And then the rest of the game was played. And then that's just that. And it's just sad to see that there's no solution to this. Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah. It's been way too long, especially in Italy. It's happening time after time. It happened to Mario Balotelli 50 times.
Mm-hmm. He's the one that didn't he kick the ball into the stands? Was he the one that kicked the ball into the stands?
He kicked the ball, and then he was the one that walked off first. And then the referee, I think at the time, told him, "No, you can't do that, and you have to play in the game." Or there's always something going on in Italy that always interrupts football games. and then it just needs to stop.
Well, they haven't really figured it out because at the beginning, the first time it happened with like Balotelli, they said, well, if you guys walk off the field, you're going to forfeit this game.
Yeah.
And so, of course, then you're putting the players in a tough position because then they're like, well, we should be walking off the field, but you guys should also be supporting it instead of telling us that if we stop playing, we're going to lose this game automatically. Like, that shouldn't be what should be said to us. There needs to be something better. But it's crazy that after so many incidents in Italy, we still have the exact same thing. So my question is, what do they need to do or what do they need to put in place in order to not necessarily prevent it, because you're not going to prevent it completely. Yeah. But in order to make the players feel like the the country and the whole organization has their support. So, do you put cameras? So, well, here's the other thing. It's also not saying it's not the whole stadium, but typically in these stadiums you have a section where it's the general public, families, parents, kids, where that you don't need to worry about that section as much. Then you have the ultras on each side of the goal. Yeah. And that's where you really need to worry, because those are the people who are chanting, screaming things, and those are the ones who were
right behind
doing the monkey chant. Yeah. So could it be possible to have one or two cameras, hire somebody to just have one or two cameras panning around that section throughout the entire match, specifically during these moments, identifying anybody who's making racist chants? Because typically when they do it, they're doing the monkey signs and all of this stuff. Like, you should be able to see it if you get one or two cameras on each section. So why don't they do that? Or, like in most of the stadiums, and I saw that they didn't have them here, but they have the ushers who stand alongside the stadium, and they typically only do it for really big games. But then they're just looking at the fans to make sure nobody jumps onto the pitch or whatever. But there's got to be something that they can do.
Something has to be done.
I mean, it's what they did today is one of those things where, number one, props to him for walking off the field, because I think that takes an immense amount of courage, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the ref's going to support you or your other teammates are going to support you, and it seems like most of his teammates did, and even some people on the other team did, which is, I mean, it's sad, but it's good to see, at least. Part of me thinks you just have to suspend the game or stop it and just say, hey, if this happens, and if it happens once or twice, and if it doesn't stop, we're just canceling the game. Then the problem is, then what do you do from a points perspective? Do you replay it? Do you play it behind closed doors? How does that all work? But until it starts penalizing like the clubs, I don't think that there will be a solve, if that makes sense. Like, the league almost has to say, hey, if this happens at your home stadium, or your fans are known for doing this or do it, you forfeit the game. You know, if we warn you once or twice, and then if it doesn't fix it, you forfeit. All of a sudden, if Udinese's forfeiting games and losing points, they will quickly, I think, figure out what fans are doing it and either get them to stop, or like, hey, like, because some of the other fans too, if you're an Ultra fan and you aren't cool with that and you kind of just like let it go, but then it's starting to cost your team points, so you're traveling across the country to see all the time, you may be like, dude, this is the guy that did it last time. Get him out of here. He cost our team 3 points, because they'll get mad at the players for making mistakes and costing their team 3 points. So that's, I think, one of the only ways to do it, and it would be one of the ways that the league at least could just set the precedent, and then the clubs would have to figure it out themselves. In worst case, if they can't figure it out and they keep doing it, they keep forfeiting games, they won't be in the league for much longer.
I wonder how many times they've had to play behind closed doors in Italy, because they've done it in other places. They've done it in Mexico, where they've punished a team. They've punished teams for doing stuff like that by
like
not letting them have fans. Yeah, not letting them have fans in their stadium. Yeah. And that's a huge one against the team, because do you know how much revenue they lose if they don't have any fans at the stadiums?
Yeah.
So that would be like one of the easy, not fixes, but that would be one of the easiest ways to make sure that doesn't happen. Mm. And now teams are going to try and find ways to make sure that those ultras or whoever's doing it is not doing it anymore, because they don't want to lose all that revenue from the ticket sales. And it also affects the performance, because can you imagine just supposedly playing at home, but playing in an empty stadium? Yeah. It's not great. We saw during COVID when they were playing in these empty stadiums, and as much as you hate to say it, it feels like a friendly. It feels like a scrimmage. Mm-hmm. It feels like you're just scrimmaging at training, because you could hear all of the things that the players are saying. It just didn't feel natural. Mm-hmm. So
As a fan, it didn't feel natural. I will say, interesting enough, during the COVID year, it was interesting to hear the player communication, because you could, for the first time, ever hear it. But thank God it was like a little test, and then we went back to normal.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing about that is, one, it's embarrassing to. It's 2024, and we're still like talking about that.
Right.
Two, I like the way, like the fact that he walked off, but can you imagine him coming back onto the field? You're not in the right, like mentally, you're not there.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, you're just you're taking everything that's behind you, and you're listening to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even like football becomes like the last thing on your mind. So for me, when things have to change. So whether we put the cameras there, like you said, or there just needs to be a plan from Serie A to say, okay, first time, this is what you get. Second time, this is what you get. Third time, it's time you start cracking down.
Yeah.
As heavy as you can. Whether that means like sanctions coming in behind closed doors, points, whatever it takes. And it doesn't have to be after the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It should be, because that shouldn't be happening in the first place.
Right.
However, if you give the teams enough warnings and you stick to a plan, things are going to change.
Yeah.
The problem I have with all of this is we're talking about it, what things that have been happening for the past 5 to 10 years. Well, longer
than that.
But
yeah.
now with social media, we see a lot more often in Italy, and nothing's changed. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a plan.
There's no protocol of if this,
Exactly.
then that. If this, then that. As
Right now
much as it's like, oh, we'll suspend the game.
Yeah, and then
hopefully find them. And
Exactly.
then my expectation is you're all out here in 15 minutes playing again, opposed to
Exactly.
like,
There's no plan to solve it. It's just, oh, does a player want to come back? And you kind of, everybody's like, oh, come play. You're forcing him to make a decision on the spot, because now you're caught in two minds. Yes, I want to play, but two, I'm not going to be able to play and concentrate and be fully present to what I need to do my job, because I'm not in the right environment. So, it's...
The other thing as well is I saw that the Serie A has like a social media, so they have like a Twitter or whatever. And then it was a few years ago, they posted a graphic that was like no more racism or something, but they used the monkey graphic. And people were like, what are you guys doing? Like, how do you not even have the basic knowledge to know that that's not okay? And so they took down the post and everything. But just the fact that even the league's social media team is posting something about, and they're doing it wrong. They're going about it the wrong way. So there needs to be, I wonder how long it's going to be before like a world governing body steps in and says that the country needs to sort this out before we start imposing our sanctions, because it's pretty bad.
Well, Bulgaria did it against England, and then the next 2 or 3 games behind closed doors.
Yep.
You can't
Gotta be strict, man. You gotta be strict, because otherwise you're gonna let them keep kind of doing it.
It's always gonna keep happening if you don't do anything about it.
All right, so moving on, Bundesliga. RB Leipzig played Leverkusen, and Xabi Alonso's boys once again in the last minute of the game get the win.
Finds a way.
Crazy. So, what are the chances now that Harry Kane goes to Bayern
You two would love that, huh?
and still does not win a trophy? What does this man need to do to win a trophy?
I think Bayern Munich still won the trophy.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so? Because I was looking at their...
they're 7 points back. But they do have 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
So they have 2... so they have 2 games in hand, but 7 points.
Well,
You're putting a lot of pressure on Bayern.
Yeah.
Like, because now they can't bobble. And they've already played each other once, right? And I think they drew.
I'm not sure.
I don't know, but they're still undefeated as well.
Yeah.
So 15 wins and 3 draws out of 18 matches. So, one, do you think... So you're saying Bayern Munich is still going to come back and win the Bundesliga?
Yeah. There's a reason for that.
All right, so what is the reason?
They're missing their best player. Bayer Leverkusen is missing Boniface. So he got... I don't know if he got actually hurt right before the African Cup.
So wait, how does that affect them negatively, though?
Bayer Leverkusen?
Yeah.
Because they're missing their best player, like their striker. He's going to be gone until late April. So,
okay.
So, like, right
Sorry, I
now
thought you
they're
were saying
winning
that-
games, yes, but there's going to be
It's a lot tighter of winning games than it was to start the year. Is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
like now it's going to get to a point where, yes, they scored 2 goals in the last minute. However, can you keep doing that
Right.
again? Like
That was, I mean, that's one of their hardest fixtures they have left, though. Leipzig away.
it is.
And the crazy part about it is because Bayern is out of the polka, right?
Yeah.
Leverkusen very easily could
Do
a
look.
double.
I would love nothing more for Leverkusen to win it. That would be dream scenario. And then Alonso goes to Real Madrid or wherever he goes. Well, Ancelotti signs a new deal, but
as long as Harry Kane doesn't win, which it's looking.
So Joe has so we're bringing back the conspiracy theory segment. We're bringing back the conspiracy theory segment. We're going to start right now with Joe's take on why Harry Kane
won't win.
What? Yeah. What's
the whole
what
scenario
the
and
plan was.
how this happened?
Yeah.
When Granit Xhaka was brought to Arsenal by the one and only Arsene Wenger, he trained him up, got him ready, said, "Hey, you're going to stay at Arsenal for a while until Harry Kane goes to Germany. Then you're going to follow him. You're going to meet up with Xabi Alonso at Leverkusen, and you're going to take the title away from him." Just to watch Tottenham suffer in any way, shape, and form possible.
and Eric Dyer.
Oh yeah,
not
and
just
Eric
Harry
Dyer. Yes, and Eric Dyer.
What is Tuchel's losing the plot? Man, he's lost the plot
I'll tell you when it all went downhill for Bayern Munich.
when they hired him.
Exactly, because they had Nagelsmann as their coach.
Yep.
He was doing well. There was no issues whatsoever. And why am I forgetting his name? The goalkeeper for Germany, Oliver Kahn.
Yeah.
Oliver Kahn was part of the board that sacked Nagelsmann because Tuchel had just gotten sacked and they wanted Tuchel really bad. And they knew they had a small window of time to get him. So they had to find a way to get him to Bayern Munich because they'd been wanting him for a while. But there was no reason because Nagelsmann, they were doing fine.
Yeah.
But their reasoning was they were worried about their recent performances. Not because they had lost,
Yeah.
but just because the playing style wasn't looking good and they were worried. So first of all, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. They had to find something. But I knew from that moment, I was like, that's one of those situations where like you have to be absolutely right about this decision because you're going to look so bad and it could cost you your job if this goes downhill.
Yeah.
So Nagelsmann gets sacked for fucking no reason. They bring in Tuchel and it all starts going downhill for them from there. Not like crazy downhill, but it's not as good as it
For
was.
Bayern Munich.
For Bayern Munich, that's terrible. And guess who eventually has to step down?
Yeah, Oliver Kahn, right?
Oliver Kahn.
I mean, just Eric
What a joke.
Dyer. Eric Dyer.
What a joke.
I mean, just I don't know.
Well, the part that bothers me about that is that I've always seen Bayern Munich as like the smartest people when it comes to how they manage their operations. And I remember even when like the whole Ronaldo was free from Manchester United or wherever it was that he was. Yeah, it was Manchester United when they were like thinking about where he was going to go. And even Oliver Kahn was like, he's a great player, doesn't fit what we need. We're already set. Whereas other teams are like, we'll take Ronaldo, whatever.
Yeah.
But they've always been very smart about their transfers and who they're getting and how they're doing all of these things. And they fucked up on this one.
And then, I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about the transfers.
Yeah.
About
So we can go into the transfer window right now. We'll start with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Georgie.
Well, first when I saw that, I was like, "There's no this must be a fake account from like Fabrizio. There's no way. That's the most. That's like, I would have never expected that to be in the realms of happening. One, because
First of all, what are you talking
Which
about? So
part?
people
Trippier
know.
leaving?
Trippier
Leaving or going to Bayern? Which part?
both.
Okay.
Like in one. One, Trippier leaving Newcastle. You're the captain. You brought this team into, I don't want to say he's the reason, but he's one of the reasons why they are where they are now. Qualify for the Champions League. You're in this situation where this could be you could be a legend at Newcastle if you stay and you take them to the places where they haven't been in however long. And then on top of that, you're going to not only lead Newcastle, but you're going to one of the best teams in the world at Bayern Munich on a loan deal at first. And what happens if it doesn't work out? You're going to come back to Newcastle. Like the whole thing is, that's after Bayern Munich go and get Eric Dyer. So I don't know what Tuchel's doing over there. And I'm not saying Trippier is a bad player, but we're talking about Bayern Munich. We're like this guy's getting loans from like for Eric Dyer. I don't just this whole thing doesn't make sense to me.
I'm surprised to hear you like thinking the Trippier part leaving. That part of it makes sense to me only because they need Newcastle has to sell some players to, I think, to get under the financial fair play. That if you look at the roster, who number one has a lot of value on the market.
But it's a loan. Like he's not getting sold.
Well, but it's a loan, and I think that the intention is to then sell him at the end of the season.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. If
he performs, which I mean, I think he'll be fine. He will, but
that is weird though. Like, wouldn't you say
sell
we're
him
not
now?
gonna loan him? Yeah, just, you want him, just buy him.
Yeah, you got to get rid. You got to sell someone like within this window or in the
Unless
summer.
Joe's right, like financial fair play, wages, and all of that. Maybe that comes into it.
I'll say the wages I think might help. I don't know the wages part because I think it might help. Otherwise, it doesn't. That the loan to buy part doesn't make sense. But because they don't have many other players, in my opinion, with a ton of value on the market to help recover what they've spent. Because people won't buy Toney. Joelinton is injured,
and rumors are he's not. He's gone in the summer.
Joelinton.
Yeah.
So then who do you have of value still to sell? You have Isak, but that we'll talk about that
That's
in a
the next
moment.
one, baby. That's the next one.
Bruno,
but then you're taking away your best midfielder. Like you have to keep
Anthony Gordon.
You can't lose Bruno
Yeah.
and Joelinton in the summer because now all of a sudden your midfield is just gone, right? And then you have to bring in players to replace these people. So it's like, who do you sell? Where's a position that's somewhat expendable? Like the two people I thought that they might sell would be Callum Wilson, because I think he's a luxury for them, a pretty good striker. That if like Solanke leaves Bournemouth or Toney leaves Brentford, I think Callum Wilson could go to one of those clubs easily. And then Trippier or Schär would be the only other people I would think, or maybe Nick Pope. But they have to sell some first-team players to get some money back.
That's what I would do. You take Almiron and you sell him back to Atlanta United for double the money what you paid for him.
yeah, I'm sure Atlanta will.
He's coming from England, so he's got to be worth more money now for sure. And he's actually
tore
played pretty
up
well.
the MLS when he was at Atlanta.
And he adjusted really well at Newcastle. This is the beginning of the season. He was doing really well.
Yeah.
And then Newcastle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Shit.
but I agree with Joe. The part of him leaving doesn't surprise me because if Bayern Munich comes calling, there's very few clubs in the world that you would say are a step up from Bayern. So that makes sense. Like he's at Newcastle, which is a good team. He's going to a great team and a world class organization. Is he?
He also have now played in 3 different leagues with La Liga with his time at Atletico, and now Newcastle. Like for his own stock, I see him wanting to do it as well to try and prove his point.
Yeah.
He's also, I think, trying to prove that he belongs as a starter on the English national team. Which, if you start at Bayern, that helps that argument a lot.
Oh,
That is true.
He's not. There's 0% chance he starts for England.
You say that, but he started
Unless
for
there's
them.
an injury. Obviously. He is third.
Don't put past Gareth Southgate. He's third?
He's third or fourth, actually.
Fourth?
Well, you have Kyle Walker and you have Trent. There's no way he's getting in front of these.
Well, if you don't play Harry Maguire, Kyle Walker could play center back.
All right, Joe.
What?
Let's move on. I'm just kidding. When has Kyle Walker played center back? Has he played
He
center
plays
back?
center back for
City?
Manchester City all of the time.
Yeah, but that's a bit different compared to.
He doesn't play center back. He plays in a
He
three.
plays in the 3. He played with 3 center backs, and he's one of the 3.
but Manchester City build with one center back, and then everybody else is up the field.
Yeah.
But so that's an interesting. So that's
Well, Trippier started for them in the World Cup against when they went into the semifinals. He was their starting right back that World Cup.
Trippier's he's well liked by the.
Trippier
by
is
Southgate.
good, but
Southgate likes him over Trent.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Well, all right.
Well,
So
Trent is injured
we
too,
mentioned it a little bit. Another Newcastle player, Isak, potentially could be now really high up on Arsenal's wish list.
Yeah, he's.
Okay, let me ask you this: you have 80 million. Do you spend it on Isak? Do you spend it on Ivan Toney?
That's a tough question, man.
I know my answer.
you go
it's
first,
fairly
Joe.
easy.
To me, it's Isak, hands down. It's easy. And I think he fits our style of play better. I think that the way that he moves is better. I think Isak is phenomenal. To me, if we got Toney, he probably wouldn't start most of the time. We would still start Jesus. I believe Arteta would still start Jesus. However, if I think we got Isak, he would go in and he would start over Jesus because I think what you get with the two of them is different. I think Isak fits. He's, like I said, I think similar to Jesus, but a step above. And Toney plays a little bit different. And to me, Isak is who I would go after first. And if we cannot get him and Newcastle won't budge or they're asking an insane amount of money, then pivot and go with Toney. What about you?
No, what about you, Giorgio? I'm curious.
I asked the question.
I'm curious.
Well, Isak is 24. Ivan Toney's 27.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
24, 27.
Yeah, it's not
doesn't matter.
really. But if you are Arsenal, it might be a good idea to have the different. Like, for example, if you have plan A with, let's say it's Gabriel Jesus. That's why I always like the Nketiah situation because Nketiah is different to Gabriel.
Yep.
So it could bring something completely different to the situation. I really like Isak a lot. And I think he would fit Arsenal. I think both would fit Arsenal good, either way. However, I think Ivan Toney, due to Isak injury, in terms of injuries, that he's consistently with his hamstrings or groins or whatever it is, and Ivan Toney is his presence within the box is a bit, and he's really good at headers, set pieces, stuff like that. I think that brings a whole different dimension to or Arsenal would potentially need. So, I mean, I would take both.
You just see if they're both willing to split 40 each.
There you go.
There you go.
Each.
I don't think there's a wrong answer because it's one of those things that you're not going to know whether you're right or wrong until after it happens. And then you're like, shit, we should have gone with this guy or we're happy with this one. But it's not like, oh, they fucked up. They should have gotten this guy first, whatever. I would go with Benzema as my first option if that was available to me. If I had 80, I'd put 85 for him.
Wait. If you had the chance right now to pick from those three, you would pick Benzema as your...
Clearly, Benzema.
For 80 million?
For 80. If they were the same price tag.
million?
No. Even if he was a little bit more expensive than those guys, I would get Benzema right now.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would not do that.
Listen,
neither.
I don't care about his age. How old is he?
Clearly, because you're going to
30
spend $80 million on someone who's 36 years old.
36 years old. Okay.
No. You're not spend that money on Benzema.
1 year removed from being the Ballon d'Or winner.
No.
I don't care about your age. Last year you were the Ballon d'Or winner.
And
Your style of play is not. It's not like a guy who used to be really fast and would take players on. And he was a winger and he'd be a 1-versus-1, and he's lost a little bit of that speed. Benzema was just extremely intelligent in terms of his decision making when he had the ball at his feet, and one of the most clinical people you're ever going to see in the history of the game. In terms of not just scoring all the chances that he gets, but half chances that he would get, he would score. That as soon as Ronaldo left Real Madrid, Benzema took it to a whole different level. And I think he was just not hiding it, but he was just saving it because he knew that he had to share kind of everything with Ronaldo until Ronaldo left.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'm going to do it. Of course, I would say probably not pay 80 million for him. However, if the opportunity presents itself for him to be part of your squad, I would chase after him a little bit more than I would chase after Isak.
But you have to take account the age.
So he's the top
Sure.
out of those three for you. I'm surprised to hear that. Like, to me, the reason why I would take Isak he's over Benzema is you're going to have him for longer. Like Benzema, you're putting all of your eggs in winning this year or next year. That if you really wanted to go for the double and win the Champions League and the Premier League this year and kind of just but not focus on that, Benzema's not a long-term solution. I think he gets us through this season and maybe next, and then you need a replacement.
Right. So you don't give him a contract more than 2 years. Give him a 1 or 2 year contract,
Javi,
which is
just
realistic.
just spending that cash.
Because he's not going to get a longer contract anywhere else.
And then we get breaking news: Arsenal financial fair play.
At some point, Isak and Toney are still going to be available. I just think that Benzema is the perfect striker in terms of characteristics for what Arsenal need to win the Premier League. If he comes to the team and Arsenal don't win the Premier League, we're not going to win the Premier League with anybody else that we potentially could have gotten. I agree with you guys saying that, like, if you're looking for a long-term solution, Isak and Toney are obviously better options than Benzema. But I just think, why not get Benzema while he's available? 1 year removed from being the Ballon d'Or winner. You might win the Premier League. That gives you a good chance because literally that's the type of player that we need right now to be able to get us to score enough goals to beat teams. You in the Premier League, then you look at Isak and Toney for the future.
So
However,
you're saying just get all three.
However,
Get
I wouldn't be
Benzema
upset
in January.
if
Then
I
get the other two in
sure.
the summer.
I mean, that probably isn't the smartest way to deal with it from a financial standpoint because you're paying a lot of money.
Deducted 10 points.
No, then you turn around and sell Jesus and Nketiah, and you can make a good chunk of it back right there.
But if I had to choose between Isak and Toney, it just depends again because the reason why I say it depends is because what is it that Arsenal need more than anything? Do they need somebody who's just going to be able to finish the opportunities that he gets that come created by the rest of the Arsenal squad, Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, all of those players, Declan Rice? Or do you need somebody who's going to be a little bit more versatile for you, who's going to be able to create a lot of chances on his own? Because I think Isak is a great finisher, and anytime there's a counterattack, anytime he gets past the ball, he's pretty dangerous in and around the box. I think Toney is a little bit more versatile in what he can give you in terms of creating chances and not just being the number 9 who's going to be there at the end of the chance to finish. So depends from Arsenal's perspective or Arteta's perspective, what does he need more?
To your point, though, I don't think there's a bad option between the three.
Agreed.
As long as we walk away with one, I think most Arsenal fans will be happy at the end of the
We're going to end up with Olivier Giroud coming back.
that would.
Or
I still
Lukaku.
wouldn't be, honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
All right.
All right. So moving on from, I think that's it. That's all we have from the transfer window because there's not really much else going on. Wild card segment. All right.
All right. Wait, let me ask you the wild card one. Benzema, Toney.
Well, we have to explain the wild card segment for today. We'll just do one or two because we're already pretty far into the podcast anyway. All right. So the wild card segment today is the start one, bench one, sell one. 3 players. Georgie, go ahead. Ask me.
Benzema, Ivan Toney, Isak. Boom. Those 3 that we just talked about.
Start one, Benzema. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because after he starts, you could sub him off and sell him. Bench one, Isak. Sell one, Toney. And I'll explain. Benzema is going to get you, I mean, right now, a year from now, I'd probably be giving you a completely different answer. Right now,
probably
Benzema.
retired by then. Yeah.
If Benzema's not performing and he doesn't get the goal and we're looking for if we're looking for a goal to win us the game, Isak comes in because Isak is clinical. And sell Toney because he's probably going to be suspended for that game for gambling. Between those 3, I feel like for me currently, that would be my answer. Joe.
Right now, I would start Benzema. I would bench Toney, and I would sell Isak. Reason being is...
Wait.
I'm going to explain it for you because you're thinking, I can tell your brain's not computing what I just said.
Yeah.
Benzema right now, clinical, can get you goals, etc. Toney coming off the bench, I think gives something different than Benzema, work rate, all of that. The only reason why I would sell Isak opposed to Toney, I think on a market standpoint, if I'm trying to make money and I'm running a business here, I'm going to get the most money out of Isak when I sell him.
Joe's thinking about 10 years ahead. You're thinking about buying Benzema.
I'm thinking, how can I win now? Stay within financial fair play by selling Isak, using those funds somewhere else, and being in a great position.
Are you ready, Georgie? You ready for this one?
Go ahead. Oh, God. This is going to be...
Start one, bench one, sell one. Bobby Firmino.
Okay.
Darwin Nuñez. Mo Salah.
I'm surprised you didn't put Gerrard in there.
No. It's just because he plays those all 3 play similar positions.
Ooh, easy.
Georgie's like pass.
Pat. Well, okay. First of all, let this be known. Bobby Firmino is my favorite player. He was while he was at Liverpool.
In their prime, by the way. In their prime.
Oh shit.
In their prime, top of their game.
Salah's the GOAT, so starting.
Wow, that surprised me.
Salah's starting. Bobby's my boy, so bench, and then sell Darwin.
Damn, you're
gonna sell Darwin?
You would sell Darwin. I can't believe you would sell Darwin.
Sell Darwin. You have the words coming straight out of his mouth.
I hope these cameras are recording.
You put 3. Okay, Bobby Firmino is my favorite player when he was at Liverpool. Darwin is currently my favorite. If you said now, it's a different story because obviously Bobby is like on the decline. But you tell me at their prime, Darwin's prime, we're yet to see what he's about to be.
So you're going to sell someone before their prime when you know it's coming?
No, but that's not the way to look at it. We're strictly looking at their prime.
You're going to sell Bobby for
By the way, I did once ask Georgie who he
Oh.
thought was going to be better at the end of it all when it's all said and done.
And
Fernando Torres or Darwin Nuñez. And he said Darwin Nuñez.
Yeah, I did.
That's fair.
I do think so.
I mean,
Even though Fernando Torres literally won everything possible except for the Ballon d'Or.
yeah, but that's
I'm surprised that you
teams
said that because
around,
I seriously thought that Bobby was going to be your first choice.
You think I was going to start Bobby?
Yeah.
It's just solid for the amount of years that he's done it. It's and then consistently scoring 20+ goals. That's you can't.
All right, Joe, you ready for this one?
Sell Darwin. I love it.
You ready for this one, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not excited for it if it's anything like that one.
Yeah.
Start one, bench one, sell one. Christian Pulisic, Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, that's
Is
Start.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's easy for me. Start Deuce, Clint Dempsey, of course. Bench Christian Pulisic.
yep.
And I will let Landon Donovan go on a free. No, I'm just kidding.
Interesting.
And then I would sell Landon Donovan. I will say though, as a fan, like the most excited I have ever been for, I don't know if the second most excited I've ever been for a USA goal was when Landon Donovan scored the goal against
Algeria.
Algeria. And I remember that was I couldn't even watch the game. I would distinctly remember where I was. It was a summer in college. I worked for a moving company, and I was packing up a German family's basement. They were moving from wherever they were moving back home to Germany, and I was packing up all their stuff. And I had my BlackBerry playing the game, not like because I couldn't watch it back then, but just like playing it through like the radio. And they were watching it upstairs, and I remember screaming in my basement or in their basement. As I'm like supposed to be like packing up all their fine china and stuff, listening to the game. But yeah, I would sell Landon Donovan.
All that to say, he was going to sell them.
Yeah, all that. Just
All that
get
to
rid
say
of
Landon
that.
Donovan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
Interesting.
Clint Dempsey's my just I love watching him play. The way he played, like what he did in England too. I respect him for staying in England for as long as he did back then.
So let me ask you this then. So is Landon Donovan no longer the GOAT of U.S. soccer? Because before Christian Pulisic came around, people would say unanimously that Landon Donovan was the GOAT of U.S. soccer.
I never really looked at it as Donovan.
I would say most people would have said that.
Yeah.
So do
I
you
would agree
think
with
now?
that people would have said that. Yeah.
Do you think now? It's
I don't think it's Pulisic. No.
I think most people think Dempsey because if you look to it like what Dempsey did in the he helped obviously carry us through the very tough group in Brazil when we were in the group with Germany, Ghana, and who was the other? Germany, Ghana, and you don't remember? Yeah, I don't remember when we lost and we ended up losing to Belgium in that World Cup. Dempsey's Portugal was in that group with us. Yeah, that like no one thought us we would get out of that group, and Dempsey let us out of that. That was the most excited I've ever been when he scored with his like belly. Do you remember that goal? Or he just kind of like
I remember the Jermaine Jones goal, the curler.
yeah.
That was that. I think that was that tournament where
Yeah.
he like opened up, curled
Side
it,
mesh against Germany.
But anyway,
But yeah,
Interesting.
I think most people would say Clint Dempsey. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
interesting. All right. Anyway, that's it for the wildcard segment for today. Fun facts.
You can't tell me like
Fun.
3 Liverpool
facts.
players.
Hey,
Why
wait.
not?
While
That's-
you're
I
pulling
had
out-
to make it difficult.
I brought a fun fact.
You go ahead. Go ahead
Oh.
while I pull this up.
So I'm going to read a number to you,
Oh.
and then I'm going to tell you about this person, and I need you to guess something. So 4,776 players have made at least one Premier League appearance. What percentage of those players has James Milner played against? 4,776 players have made at least one Premier League appearance. What percentage of those players has James Milner played against?
I am confusing this with the LeBron James stat because I saw the same thing for the LeBron James.
They both came out at the same time or similar time.
Are they similar? Do you know the answer to this?
I know the answer.
Is it similar to LeBron James?
I don't know.
Because LeBron James was something crazy like 34%.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with, and I think Milner's been around a long
this is not-
time because Milner started really early. And
This is
he's
not
really
in a
old.
percent though, is it?
I'm asking
Yours.
for you. I'm asking for it in a percent.
Oh, you're asking for
What
it.
percentage of those players, the 4,000, whatever I
So
said,
you're talking about? Are you talking about the modern Premier League?
the Premier League? Yep.
Yeah.
4,776 players have made at least one Premier League appearance. What percentage has James Milner played against?
I'm going to say close to.
Just
I'm going to say a
close to.
solid 58%.
58%.
I'm going to say he's been playing for like 20 something years, hasn't he? I'm going to say a solid 58%.
Okay.
I don't know the percent. I know the number because you send it to us.
No, I didn't send this to you. Because the percentage is in it.
Okay, so you tell me. Then what's the answer?
You
Then?
send it in the group chat, in the Instagram.
Joe forgot that he sent it to us
If
already.
if I did, then I didn't.
Yeah.
The percentage
Well,
he
is not
did. I
in it.
clearly didn't read it.
Just do it with him because I know the number.
What's the number, Joe?
47%, 47.7%. He's played against 2,227,
Yeah, that's the number. I know.
2,277 of them. That's
so
insane.
almost half. So basically half. He's played against half of all Premier League players.
It's insane.
It is. I mean,
Because
but
some of them have only made one appearance and never would have made that appearance against him, like or against the team he was playing on.
right. I mean, he did start when he was like what 17 years old. I think was when he got his first cap.
Or was it Leeds?
Or his
Leeds
first
United?
match.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. That's a pretty cool stat to be able to tell your grandkids.
And he's still going.
And he's still going.
almost half. Almost half.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for my fun fact?
Gets the book out.
Get the book of soccer. Is that what it's called? The soccer book.
This is a soccer book.
This is the Brad Bobley soccer book right here. Okay? This is a page on my book that
Thank you.
it says into the 20th century. All right. So let me ask you a simple one first of all. Trivia question. There's been a lot of, so we're talking about the pitch size, equipment, everything in terms of like what the game is played on, how it's played, and all of that. What is the one thing that since the beginning has not changed? Be as specific as you possibly can. Because almost everything has changed. What is the one thing that has not changed?
You play with your feet.
No. I'm talking about.
Joe, that's correct. Technically.
Actually, that's not actually correct.
You're right, because they played with your hands to start.
No, but there was a. So listen to this. Original laws allowed several unusual practices that would now be unthinkable. Players could catch the ball if it reached them on the full toss. So technically you're wrong. Technically wrong.
I'm wrong. All right.
Well done.
You're-
Hey, I heard a quote the other day. Every day's a school day, and I just learned something, so thank you.
All right, let's get back to my fun fact here, all right? What is the one thing that has not changed? And once I tell you, you're going to be like, gosh, I'm an idiot. I
There's
should go on
always
a different
been linesmen.
podcast. Nope.
There's always lines on the field.
Nope.
The size
That's
of
also
the field?
incorrect. Incorrect.
Size
And
of
I guarantee, there's going to be people on TikTok who's going to comment, the first thing I thought about, how do you guys not get it? This is the first thing I thought about.
the goal.
So-
The ball's always round.
Yes. The shape of the ball has not changed since the very beginning of this sport. Well done, Joe.
I'm good at these.
Did you look?
No, I
Right
didn't. I
opening
swear to
look?
God.
Joe
Well,
looks.
my first
Joe
answer,
side-eyes the
my
book,
first
and he's
answer
like-
was they played it with their feet, and then like eventually we
Wait.
get to the ball's
How
always
did they
round.
play
It
with
just-
no lines?
I'll tell you right now. The FA's first rule book in 1863 contained no field markings. In fact, it took until 1882 for the sidelines and goal lines to be compulsory.
Could you imagine? Like that means it's,
And they
ball
have
never went out of bounds.
they have a graphic here. In 1863, the field markings were not specified. The field could measure up to 200 yards long and up to 100 yards wide.
And that's playing with people who like didn't train and like.
Imagine doing fitness
Oh my
goal
goodness.
to goal.
Now, here's the next one.
Shuttle runs
Here's the
on
next
that.
one I'm going to give you guys, which is going to be even just funny listening to it. All right. In which year did the crossbar become a permanent fixture?
Can you give us the year it started? Does it have that in there?
Well, no, because it dates back. It dates like to the ancient times of.
Okay.
Like the first rule book was in 1863.
Okay, that gives us something.
So 1863. But when did when did the crossbar become a permanent fixture?
Well,
Because
when-
they used to use tape.
Oh, crossbar. So they
use tape.
makes sense. They had two sticks and they taped across the top.
This is funny.
Freaking
So let me,
awesome.
before I even tell you the answer to that, let me tell you this. 1872, so that's another hint. 1872, a tape is hung between the goalposts, 8 feet above the ground. The tape was introduced after a goal was scored at Reigate, England. Reigate, I don't know how to pronounce that properly. Between the posts, but 30 feet in the air. So somebody kicked the field goal, and they're like, yeah, we have a problem here,
The funny
guys.
part is like, how come we never thought of that?
That's funny. All right, so what year?
1885.
He's close. Georgie?
Well, we know that Bayer Leverkusen was 1904, so there's no way Bayer Leverkusen played with no crossbar. So,
All right.
1890.
1882. He's only 3 years off.
1882, so that's two.
So
how
they
many-
only played with tape for 5 years or so, right? 18, what was it you said?
1872. So 10 years.
10 years with tape.
Does it say what happens when the ball hit the tape and just destroyed everything?
No, that was just their
Then
like,
it didn't
solution.
count. Like, it
that was
was-
just their solution that had to go underneath the tape.
It took them 10 years for someone to actually hit the crossbar. And then they're like, oh, we should probably get something a little bit more concrete for this.
And 1891, the nets were then invented. So then they put nets on the goal.
Dude, that's insane.
200-yard field, 100-yard wide, and they had no goals, and you could shoot it as high as you wanted. You spent
No
the whole
crossbars,
game,
no crossbars.
You spent the whole game just going and getting the ball.
That's insane.
There's your fun facts of the day.
Those were good.
The shape of the ball, I'm glad you got that one because that one was, the ball was has always been round. Someone's going to come in the TikTok section, whatever, I found a stat that the ball was square back in the day. Someone's always going to...
That book is not real.
Maybe this book is updated up until the 2022 World Cup, but it's probably not updated before 1863 or whatever. So
You're probably
there might
right.
have been some. All right, well that's it for this podcast. Do you guys have anything else? Besides, obviously, us linking you guys or sending you guys to follow the social media channels, youtube.com/@thenegwpodcast podcast for the full-length videos. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then all of the short TikToks, all the short form version, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter is at the NGW podcast. All right. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we don't see Georgie anymore on this podcast. When we get a bigger budget, we can hire somebody with some actual knowledge. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
See y'all soon.
Knowledge.